Hello and welcome back. This is Alexandra and the second video of the 5 secrets to a better menopause. And if we want to look back at the last video, we talked about menopause is an opportunity, not a travesty. And we talked about the different stages of life, and by simply understanding them, how we can shift our attitude into more positivity. Now in video number 2, what we're going to look at is what the society's treatment plan is currently and what would actually make a more senseful approach to menopause. So stay tuned, we're going to dive right in. Currently, the first line of defense against hot flashes, weight gain, anxiety, wrinkles, aging, vaginal dryness, and all this hormonal upheaval, apparent hormonal upheaval, is, you guessed it, what is it? Ta-ta-ta-ta! Hormone replacement therapy. Just give the woman some estrogen or maybe some progesterone, some testosterone, or maybe some combination thereof. And in the beginning, it promised eternal youth. But the problem with hormone replacement therapy, and you probably know this, but it can cause cancer, most notably uterine or breast cancer. Many women report weight gain as a result. I actually had a client who gained 30 pounds in 6 weeks. And the last thing that is really prevalent and really a problem with hormone replacement therapy that any natural practitioner would say, oh my goodness, not such a great idea, is that we are interfering with the natural order of things. The body has a natural ability to heal itself. Yet taking an outside substance into our body, trying to regulate nature, will rob the body of its ability to find its own equilibrium. I know that many women don't really want to take hormone replacement therapy. They may think about it and be like, yeah, okay, whatever, seems like a good solution. And if it takes my symptoms away, fine. But I also know that many women don't really want to take it because they got the sense of like, maybe there's a better way and maybe my body's trying to tell me something. And many women, and I hope you're among those, because that is really what I am about. It's one of my core beliefs, is that the body has a natural ability to heal itself and that we simply have to create the right environment in order to make that happen. So if you share that core belief, or at least if you're curious about that, you're definitely in the right place here for this conversation. So what is the next line of defense? If the first line of defense is hormone replacement therapy currently in society, well, then there is often nothing. There's like not really thinking about anything, like what else can I do? I'm kind of lost. And then some well-educated or be like clever women, they may think like, well, maybe I should try herbs. And that especially where I'm living in a very esoteric town in Northern California, herbs are a very common thing to take. And that's a good thing because herbs have innately a much greater intelligence than chemically produced pills. Because who are pills produced by? They are produced by humans. And naturally, humans only have a mental capacity that's limited. And herbs, they're grown by nature. And how much intelligence does nature have? It has an abundance of intelligence. By choosing herbs versus hormone replacement therapy, there's already a big step towards aligning with nature, aligning with the intelligence of nature. And thereby, by definition, there's already a much greater likelihood of a healthful approach. But then what comes after that? After herbs comes often nothing. And then still maybe nothing. And then a woman might think about, well, maybe I should possibly look at diet, or maybe, just maybe, my lifestyle could have something to do with it. So here's an interesting story. And again, in the very beginning, I was going about and interviewing women about their menopausal experience, right? So I'm living in this esoteric town, and many women know about that diet is a major contributor to the way we feel in our bodies and the way we live our lives, and the lifestyle we're living has a huge impact, right? So this is a general, already an accepted thing. But when I asked them about their menopausal symptoms, and how that might relate to their diet and lifestyle, I just got blank stares. And I thought that was very interesting because women weren't able to put 1 and 1 together and 2 and 2 together. And that is also very natural. I'm not blaming anybody here, but it's like, well, I've drunk whatever, coffee all my life, or I've eaten chocolate cake all my life, or whatever the substance is that you were taking, and you're telling me all of a sudden that isn't working? It just doesn't make any sense. So it's natural that women weren't making the connection, but let me tell you that there is actually a connection. Some of the substances that women have found that have made a profound impact in cutting out of their diet was often coffee, sugar, caffeine in general, and alcohol. And by simply cutting those out of the diet, that made a huge difference in the way their bodies showed up. So what am I actually proposing here? If I'm saying this is the current treatment plan, what is actually a more smart treatment plan? Well, we would simply turn this chart around and say, well, hang on a minute. Let's look at diet and lifestyle first and see how much we can actually shift with that. And I can tell you from experience that it will shift 80 to 90% of your problems are likely to go away by simply shifting what you eat, how you live your life, and what attitude you bring to it. Then if that isn't working fully, let's look at some herbs. And herbs have a powerful impact. They're amazing, but they work the best when we actually already have created an environment and the context of our life, right? And herbs will work wonders. And then if that doesn't work, let's just wait a second and let's work a little bit more. And if then nothing's working, then let's look at hormone replacement therapy as a stopgap measure. It's not that hormone replacement therapy is absolutely terrible, but it makes much more sense to work with the other stuff first. Now there's one instance where I would say, hey, go to hormone replacement therapy first. And that is if your symptoms are so debilitating and making you so downtrodden that you can't look at your diet and lifestyle at all, then yes, let's look at hormone replacement therapy. Take that to just get you out of crisis mode and into discomfort mode. Then work at your diet and lifestyle and start phasing out the hormone replacement therapy over time. So here's the thing. Hormones do change and they do shift at menopause. That's natural. But hormones don't go out of whack just because they decide to. Hormones are really servant. And I got this from Dr. Claudia Welch, who wrote a book, Healthier Hormones, Healthier Lives. And what she's saying is that hormones are our servants and they do their best job to keep the system in balance. So the hormones, though, which are produced by glands, they can only do a really good job if the hormones are good quality. And how do we create good quality hormones is by eating well, by digesting our food well, which then creates healthy cells in our bodies. And then healthy cells create healthy hormones. And those hormones can do a good job because they're healthy. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail. Here is the digestive system. So let's look at why diet is so important. Diet is so important because the actual food you put into the pie hole called the mouth becomes your cells. Food equals cells equals cellular intelligence. So here's how this goes. You put food in your mouth, then you chew it, it starts to digest, you swallow it, it goes down the trachea, that's the orange thing on the picture, then it goes down into your stomach. In the stomach, it mixes with acids and enzymes and further breaks down the food. So far, whether the food is in your mouth, in your trachea, or in your stomach, the food is still outside your body. You could still spit it out or vomit it out, but it's not part of you yet. Then the stomach has digested it enough, the duct opens and the little flap opens and the food goes into your small intestines. And this is the first time when the body actually starts to absorb the food. So this mass that's called chyle now, it mixes with bile. Still the food is outside your body, but then it starts to be absorbed through the villi into your body, into the bloodstream. Now it's still not really part of your body, it's in your body for sure, it's in your bloodstream. But now the blood is going to circulate all those nutrients through your body, carries it to the cells, and the cells are now absorbing whatever they need. Oh, give me some of this, give me some of that. And only when the cells have actually absorbed the nutrients is when it becomes your body. So literally, you've heard the saying before, you are what you eat. And that is literally true. Whatever you put in your mouth, that is the cells you become. Now, if you feed yourself healthy food, you're also going to create healthy cells. If you feed yourself bad food that your body can't digest well, then you are creating unhealthy cells. And there's 3 components that a cell needs to have. It's prana, or life force, tejas, or cellular intelligence, and ojas, which is the nourishment. So you need to be able to digest your food properly so that the cell can have a lot of life force, a lot of cellular intelligence, and a lot of nourishment to actually do the job right. Now, we don't only feed our physical body, but there is some other things that we need to feed too. So when we talk about food, most people, what they think about is actually feeding our physical being. But the point is, there's not only one being, we have 5 layers of existence. So we have the physical body, that which we can touch, see, and feel. So that be our bones and our muscles and our blood and our hair and everything that you associate with your physical being. But then we have also our breath body, or pranamaya kosha. That's where our life force runs. It's our subtle body, is that which carries our life force. That's which makes us feel alive. Then we have our emotional body that houses our senses and our feelings. Then we have the intellectual body, which houses our intuition and our karmic forces and our buddhi, our intellect. And then we have the bliss body, which is the anandamaya kosha, which is the spirit body, which houses our soul. And each of these 5 levels need to be fed as well. And we often forget about them or are not really clear about how to feed them. So how do we feed the physical body? Well, physical body needs to be fed by food, of course. It needs to be fed by exercise and by sleep. Maybe by massage would be a way to feed your physical body. But then you need to feed the breath body through what we call pranayama, or breath practices. Or you need to feed it by doing what we call neti and nasya, so nourishing the nose and how you take in the breath through the nose. Then there's the emotional body. Well, how do you feed that? You feed that by treating your senses nicely, not overloading them and not misusing them in any way, but actually feeding them so that they can create an emotional experience that is easeful. So I give you an example of misusing your senses. So say you go to the mall on the weekends. That's your favorite thing to do, say, and you go every weekend, you go to the mall to go shopping. Well, that's kind of a mistreating of the senses because we are overloaded. Say you spend all day at the mall, you see things, you hear tons of music from the different stores, you smell the food from the food corner, and it's like 20 different flavors all at once, and it's cooked with really not so good oil and non-organic food and just not with a lot of consciousness and this and that, and then you find yourself on the freeway going to and from the shopping mall. And so you kind of get the picture. When you come home at night, you're just like, oh my God, I'm just overloaded and I just need quiet and peace and leave me alone. And you might notice that your emotional body is really upset. There's a feeling of agitation, and worry and fear and anxiety seem to come up a lot more easily, right? So this overfeeding and this misusing of the senses is huge. Well, how do you feed going back to the emotional body, how would you feed the emotional body? Well, you just go out in nature. You tone down how much you're listening to things, and you're only listening to things that are harmonious to your being. You look at trees instead of buildings or whatever. You just feed your senses in a nice way. Then we have the intellectual body, and that is fed by things that we cognitively understand. So, for example, the news are a way to feed the intellectual body, be a way to negatively feed it. You could read spiritual books or listen to inspiring podcasts, like my Women Gone Vibrant podcast. Hint, hint. Anyway, so the intellectual body. And then we have the bliss body. How do we feed that? We feed the bliss body. That's where our soul sits. That's where our spirit resides. It wants to be fed too. And it used to be fed a lot by going to church. But nowadays, not so many people go to church anymore. If you are, that's great. I applaud you for it. But the bliss body is fed by what? Meditation, by silence, by prayer, by connecting to spirit somehow, by having an altar at home. So it's like this beautiful feeding that brings so much joy and peace into our lives. So that is how we have to really feed ourselves skillfully. And if you remember, the treatment plan, it had diet and lifestyle at the top of it. And so this is really the core of it. When we talk about diet, we don't only talk about the diet for the physical body, but we talk about the diet for the breath, the emotional, the intellectual, and the bliss body too. And that requires us to create the context of our lives right, so that our bodies can heal themselves. So we're creating the right environment for the body and the right environment for our happiness. Secret number 2, society has the treatment plan backwards, and it takes our conscious effort to reverse that treatment plan and actually make the choices that create the body we want to create. So stay tuned for the 3rd video. It's coming up pretty soon with secret number 2, and it's going to be all about your habits. This is Alexandra signing off for now. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.